I have issues with flashbacks, and my hate for flashbacks actually goes back pretty far. Okay, no, this is not a segue for a great and hilarious bit about flashbacks, even though I did think a lot about doing that in this video. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Now, I'm not going to say that all flashbacks are bad. I am going to say that most flashbacks are unnecessary at best and harmful at worst. The other night, my wife and I were watching the movie The Housemaid. Now, not the book, I haven't read the book, so do with that what you will. I'm just using this as an example. And there was a very, what I would call, like, egregious choice in the narrative that we have to talk about. And it has so much to do with the major weaknesses of having flashbacks in your story. In this video, we're gonna talk about what makes a good flashback, we're gonna talk about examples of great uses of flashbacks, and we're gonna talk about examples of terrible flashbacks. And I think what you'll see by the end of this is that as a general rule of thumb, you should not use flashbacks in your story unless you do one of two things. I have very rarely felt that a flashback in a story makes the story better. Most of the time, I think that the inclusion of a flashback is less effective than telling me the information as it needs to be said and just keeping things present. We'll talk about that more later. And I read a lot of stories from emerging writers, and let me tell you, people love their flashbacks. And if you love flashbacks, then this video is for you, because we're gonna make sure that your flashbacks are bangin'. Is that what the kids say? And if you want your writing to be more bangin', subscribe to this channel, come join us in the Discord. We have over 700 writers just like you, sharing resources, writing, and even we run writing challenges and you can win stuff. Speaking of challenges, let's see how The Housemaid uses flashbacks, because it was challenging to watch. I'll tell you when we get close to spoilers. The Housemaid is a suspense thriller movie based on this extremely best-selling book called, say it with me, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, I think is how you pronounce it. And it tells the story of three main characters. You have a wealthy couple, Nina and Andrew Winchester, and you have our down on her luck main character, Millie, who just gets the job of being the housemaid. Now, I know there's more characters. These are the three main characters in the movie. Book stuff aside, okay. Now, honestly, the first half of this movie I thought was okay. It was pretty good. There were some really good elements of foreshadowing, some very specific lines of dialogue that were said that made me immediately think, how is this going to come up later? Foreshadowing in this movie is great. They do a good job. But that's not what this video is about. So then, a little over halfway through the movie, the big twist happens. The big twist where we're like, whoa! And yes, I am going to spoil it because we need to talk about this. If you want to avoid spoilers, skip ahead to this time. And if you don't care, hey, you're in for a great ride and conversation about flashbacks. The big twist in this whole movie is that we think Nina Winchester is crazy. And in reality, the charming and beloved Andrew Winchester is actually the crazy, dangerous, controlling one. And Nina was just acting crazy to get out of the marriage. A great twist. I love it. And it's presented mostly effectively. But then the flashbacks happen.
But there was that married professor who knocked me up.
Right after this twist is revealed, after we've been building all of this great suspension and setting all this groundwork with foreshadowing, everything's coming together. It feels so good. What does this movie then decide to do? It decides to give us not just one flashback, but two, which immediately kills the pacing and the suspense that we've built up. Why would the audience want, in the midst of the big twist, to stop the narrative and flash back 10 to 12 years? Who wants that? The first flashback shows Nina Winchester getting into this whole mess. We learned that she was in college for law. We learned how she had her child, that she got this job as a secretary at a law firm, and that's how she met Andrew. She loved him, and then she found out he was controlling and crazy. Cool. And in the movie, that only took 15 minutes. That's crazy. And then we get another flashback, the main character's backstory. In high school or college, I can't remember, she stopped someone from attacking her friend and killed him. Then she went to jail for 10 years and now she's out. Cool. And that took 5 minutes. You're telling me that there is no other way to get the necessary information to the audience besides going back in time. And that is one of my biggest issues with flashbacks. There is almost always a better way to present the information than going back in time. And by the way, very little of this information actually mattered for the story, in my opinion. We already knew Millie was in jail for murder, and we've been in her head all movie, so we know she's not some crazy psychopath. And why do we care that Nina Winchester had a baby with her law professor in college? It's not really that relevant. Do not stop your narrative to take me into a flashback. In most cases, information you present in your flashback loses impact simply because it's not the present storyline. There's very little in terms of stakes or consequence because we've spent most of our time in the future and we know to some regard how things will turn out for the characters in the flashback. If we see the character hurt in the flashback, we already know how they heal or don't heal in the future, which immediately lowers the stakes of that information. And I firmly believe that anything you want to present in a flashback can be better explored in the present narrative, and I will convince you of that by the end of this video. And you might say, hey, that's just The Housemaid. Maybe that movie wasn't great. Maybe the book did it better. Or maybe flashbacks in movies aren't good, but flashbacks in books can be great. And I hear what you're saying, so to be fair, let's look at some examples of good flashbacks, both in media and in books. And in order to showcase how a flashback can be used effectively, I'm going to give you 2 examples. And any time that there's a conversation about flashbacks, we cannot not talk about Lost. Lost is probably one of my biggest influences for storytelling, so it's kind of wild that I'm sitting here saying things like flashbacks are bad. Basically, every single episode of Lost is centered around the comparison of the present situation on the island with a flashback of the history of the characters. And the narrative thread between both of these things connects and weaves in and out. So how does Lost use flashbacks effectively? And I think it all comes down to the idea of plot A and plot B. If you've never heard of these terms, it's often used in the narrative space to describe the main plot, plot A, and the additional side story, plot B. For example, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, one of my favorites. Plot A is all about finding the Holy Grail, and plot B is all about a son reconnecting with a father. By the end of the movie, both plots are complete. In Lost, plot A and plot B are the 2 stories being told in the present timeline and the flashback. What Lost does is a lot of the times it'll switch what's plot A and what is plot B. And especially with how Lost presents it, we have a lot of moments of seeing characters about to make some sort of decision in these flashbacks, and then we jump to the present timeline on the island and we see them in a different light. And it clearly makes us think, what has happened between the flashback and now that has made things so different? And usually by the end of the episode, as we're going through the events of the flashback, it'll all make sense. It's backwards from what we saw in The Housemaid. It wasn't going to a flashback to give context on a character in this moment of time. It's presenting a story in the flashback and then jumping forward, and we can see the subtle and slight difference. I understand it's a subtle thing between the 2, but I promise it makes a difference in the terms of how the audience relates to it. That's the ideal flashback that most people think of, presenting backstory to explain the current actions and making the reader or the viewer see that character differently. People love the idea of that. But the difference with Lost is that the flashback is given as much intention and focus as the quote-unquote main story. It's not an afterthought, it's a critical part of the narrative. But it's also not the only way to handle flashback. You see this done in a similar way in Project Hail Mary. And don't worry, no spoilers here. You should go see the movie, it's pretty fun. You can read the book, it's even better. In Project Hail Mary, we get a very similar effect of swapping plot A and plot B. And sometimes the most important things happening in the story is that our main character, Ryland Grace, is doing some science and trying to save humanity in the Hail Mary spaceship and all the things that happen there. But other times, we go into a flashback and the most important thing that the story wants us to know is in that flashback. Sometimes they connect each other, but honestly, sometimes they don't. They're almost treated as two independent stories. And instead, what we get is this alternation between what is plot A and what is plot B. And simply by shifting the priority for the audience, it keeps things fresh and exciting. And this is one of the biggest things that I would suggest to people who want to use flashbacks. The flashbacks aren't just glimpses into the past, they are entire storylines that we keep revisiting and keep developing. It's almost treated like reading a book with multiple character perspectives. In Project Hail Mary, I would argue that these are two independent stories. Yes, there are threads that connect them. Yes, I get that. I've seen the movie, I've read the book, but a lot of times we're just watching flashbacks of science and problem solving. And then the present timeline does that too. And it feels independent as well. If you just read the present timeline, you would have a great story. And if you just read the flashback, you would have a great story, albeit without an ending, which maybe wouldn't be as great. Between Lost and Project Hail Mary, we have these two approaches to flashbacks. If your story is dependent on flashbacks, like with Lost, then the flashback should get as much focus as your present timeline story. And removing the flashback, this is big, should make your story not work. However, if you follow Project Hail Mary's approach and you create two independent stories, then both the flashback and the present story need to be good enough to exist on their own. Do not use auxiliary flashbacks like the Housemaid. These flashbacks serve as a brief departure from the story to explain or support something happening in the present story. They can be removed and the present story still works. Therefore, I don't know if you should include them. They only damage pacing. So look, to be fair, this is a book channel. Let's get away from movies and look at some books, because there is one other way that you can use flashbacks effectively, and it's way less common. But we've seen it recently in a lot of best-selling modern fiction, and that is with the Kingkiller Chronicles and the Sun Eater series. Both of these stories frame their entire story as a flashback. In the Kingkiller Chronicles, we have our main character, Quoth, who's running an inn, who has this incredible history and legacy and nicknames and all this stuff, and a historian hunts him down to get the definitive history of his life. And the main story that we get to experience is that character's entire background. The story is told as one big flashback, and there are times that we jump back to the present day, but it's never as like a new storyline that needs to be completed. It's kind of solely there to frame the information that we're getting and to have these little breaks between big narrative leaps. And also maybe for the author to try and keep things interesting. I don't know. The Sun Eater series also does this the exact same way. And on top of all that stuff that they get to do with the story framing, it allows the author to make some really fun prose decisions. Like maybe we have our main character, Hadrian, meet another character, and that other character seems like they're not really that big of a deal in the narrative, at least as far as we know. But then the author, because they're telling this past story of the life, can drop a single line and say something like, "That was the first time I met the man who would kill me," or something like that. And you're like, whoa, what is that? Which is a result of that story framing and presenting your story as that sort of flashback. You get to do a lot of fun things. Now, technically, these are all flashbacks, but really they're the main story. I see this as a completely separate thing than all the flashback stuff we've been talking about, but it's definitely worth mentioning because I think it's a really fun way to approach the idea of flashbacks. So, all of that being said, I have issues with flashbacks. And before you go and write a flashback, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. First, is the information you're presenting in the flashback important enough to deserve a flashback? Or can you present that information better in the present timeline? I personally think there's almost always a way to do it. Now, specifically, I bring this up because when you bring up information in the present timeline, you keep your reader engaged. You're not breaking off any pacing you've already created to then go off and do X, Y, and Z in the past, before then finally coming back. But also, you're letting your characters speak and interact and share trauma, and you're able to see not only how your main character will present whatever information is needed, and maybe what they can't even bring themselves to say out loud, but you get to see how this other character reacts to it. And that tells you a lot about their relationship and the characters themselves. That's a great moment of storytelling. The next thing I want you to ask is this: am I using flashbacks enough so that this doesn't feel out of place? I think this is another one where maybe someone goes into a story thinking I have this really cool scene in mind where I'm gonna present this information, then go to a flashback, tell the reader XYZ, and then come back to the present time and they're gonna be like, wow, that changes everything. But if you do that one single time in your story, that's not working. It feels out of place, it feels out of left field, it's not a good narrative decision. And for the Housemaid, that's kind of what it felt like. And if someone were to ask me, Carson, how would you fix that? Which, no one's asking me, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Maybe something I would do is present multiple smaller flashbacks throughout the movie, always ending in a cliffhanger that culminates to the reader receiving the important information right when it's needed in the present narrative. If you had to use flashbacks, this is a good way of doing it. And it's not something that sticks out. It's a part of the storytelling experience, hopefully. You get the information when it's needed and it doesn't make your flashback a one-time kind of thing. But I would also say, hey, consider not using a flashback. You can be slightly more subtle in your storytelling and write something great. I would also tell you, if you are gung-ho on using flashbacks, if that is the only way you can see your narrative coming into form and making sense and it being exciting, then embrace it as a core part of your storytelling and organize the rest of your story around it. Then a flashback could be useful, but it needs to be purposeful, it needs to be intentional, done effectively, and something that the reader wants to embrace as part of the story and enjoy. Not something like when I come across a flashback where I kind of roll my eyes and I wonder, how could this be done better? Which kind of inspired this whole video. So maybe it's just me. Roast me in the comments. Let me know what you think below. What are your favorite flashbacks? Come join the Discord and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And as always, thank you for watching.